Hi, I'm Dr. Donald DeFabio. Welcome to the Mayor's Roundtable. Intelligent conversation, a semi-round table, bringing you, the citizens of Berkeley Heights, the information you need, want, and deserve from your mayor, Robert Woodruff. Mayor, another good evening to you.
Doc, thank you.
Wonderful nighttime. Filming a little earlier today, but it's almost like an autumn day in October, so it's quite nice, or a summer day.
It's beautiful, and like you say, a little earlier at this time, we've got a great guest tonight, our CFO, Michael Marceau.
Oh, that'd be great.
And we've got some things to talk about with
Always
respect.
good when you get the money guy up
Well,
here.
you get the money guy, and he can explain exactly how the money thing works.
Mm-hmm. Now, before we get into that, what about the redevelopment? Any ink on the papers yet?
Well, good news insofar as things moving forward, particularly with the King site, the old King site. They have submitted all of their paperwork to the planning board. So that should be addressed very shortly. The members of the public are welcome to appear. The King's project will be closely monitored by Michael Mistretta, who's our town planner. They obviously have to adhere to everything that we agreed to with respect to the redevelopment project at King's. They are an integral part of the affordable housing situation. So we're excited, and we talked a while ago, Doc, about how things were going to start to happen, and this is really the beginning of all of that.
Nice.
So we're looking forward to it.
So when's that meeting again?
It hasn't been scheduled yet, but it should be scheduled within the next week or two.
Okay, so everybody go to the website.
Yep.
Stay involved and be informed, and then you won't miss the meeting.
That's correct.
You know, last show we also talked about the pilot program, payment in lieu of taxes for some of the developers coming in. Any word with that? Any progress?
Well, in fact, we have come to an agreement with King's. All right.
Wow.
So, and we're in the process.
Same project. Is
same project, right? And we're in the process of speaking to a couple other developers. You have to understand, it's not an automatic event. In other words, each project stands on its own, and another name for it is an annual service charge. And without it, and particularly in light of our affordable housing circumstances, we just wouldn't meet what was necessary in the affordable housing for the following reason. Now, there have been some misconceptions about what the pilot is and why it is. So I think it's important that we address some of those tonight. It replaces what is the conventional tax on improvements and land. All right. Everybody can understand that they have a home, they own land, they're taxed. If you improve your home, there's a pretty good likelihood you're going to have to pay more taxes. All right. So people understand that as the conventional approach. However, when you declare a piece of property for redevelopment, which allows for a pilot. Now, what happens is a developer would come in and indicate, okay, I would like to develop this particular area. But in order for me to develop this and make a profit, which they're certainly entitled to do, they have difficulties. And so the pilot project allows for the payment of taxes, annual service charge in lieu of the taxes. Now, what does this allow us to do? Well, it allows us to control the project, which is important. We need to control it from the affordable housing aspect, but more importantly, we can control it from a standpoint of we have our zoning rules and regulations. It's going to be so high. It has to meet certain standards. Well, the developers now say, well, we can do that. But in doing that, if we have the normal tax on land and tax on improvements, we're not going to make any money. And in fact, specifically to the King's project, they were going to be $11 million over what the market value would have been. So they have to recoup that, and they're entitled to recoup that. Now, it's got to be understood also that these aren't profits running amok, that if, and there are formulas applied that the state applies. Now, if the formula is such that the developer is deemed to have received an excess profit, that goes to the town. They're audited annually.
So it's looked at.
Yeah, so they have an annual obligation to submit an audit through the town, and obviously we deal with the state. So what it also allows us to do, it addresses the affordable housing issue, which is extremely important.
Sure.
Okay. And then what it also allows us to do, there are no, if you enter into a pilot project with a particular developer on a project, there can be no tax appeals from that project until the end of the pilot project period, which can be anywhere from 30 to 35 years, depending upon how you go about it. So you've effectively taken some significant properties in town and alleviated the possibility of having to deal with them at some point in time in a tax. Now, for example, from a dollar comparison, if you took the King's project, and these were numbers that were hashed out by King's representatives, I say the word King's, but it's obviously not King's anymore, and our own.
It's the almost New York Mart.
Almost New York Mart. And our own individuals that we retain for this, the payment, the original conventional tax payment on that property would be $973,000, of which we only get 17%. So we get $171,000. Mm-hmm. Well, under the pilot program, the payment that they would make is $427 and some change, $427,000, but we get 95% of that.
So we're getting more money.
So we're getting about a $235,000 VIG, okay, on the deal. So, and this would go on dependent upon over a period of time, and there are ratios that have to be applied. So what we have an obligation to do is give 5% to the county. We do not have to give any to the schools, but if the school situation requires that it be reviewed, we have that flexibility.
Sure.
So, and that has been looked at also by the Board of Education, as well as our own people. So we're very comfortable with that. So the pilot project is a win for the developer, and it's a great win for the town.
So the bottom line from someone who's not an attorney is the developer pays less money, but more of that money that they pay, a significant portion, goes to the town.
That's correct. And that to me is a great deal, because then we get the land developed. We get it developed the way we like it developed, within the confines of,
Sure.
what we want. And this is what we think is best for Berkeley Heights. So we control everything, and the developer can make a reasonable profit, and it's a plus for everybody.
Yeah. Triple win.
Yep.
I like it. I
Yep.
like it. So I know we want to go over a few more finances with Michael Marceau, because there are some other things out there that are a little unclear.
Correct.
Anything else we want to talk about before we bring
No,
him on?
other than we do have our veteran ceremony on Saturday, November 4th.
Great.
Right across the street, and we're encouraging everybody to come down and honor our veterans. It's kind of a tradition here in Berkeley Heights, and certainly one we wish to continue. We're looking forward to that. So
let's everybody mark your calendar for going to Memorial Field at Veterans Park there, and
That's correct.
November 4th.
That's right.
Now, Mayor, I'm not really on top of all the finances in town. So what I'd like to do is I'm going to step aside and I'm going to let you talk to Michael Marceau.
Okay, appreciate that. Okay.
And then we'll come back and we'll wrap up the show, because we're also going to hear from the DPW, and we're also going to hear from some of the our community corner segment as well.
Sounds
Okay?
good, Doc.
So I'm going to be back momentarily, but when we return, the mayor's going to be with Michael Marceau, and he's going to talk a little bit more about financially what's going on in town. I'm Dr. Donald DeFabio for the Mayor's Roundtable.
Good evening, and welcome back to the Mayor's Roundtable. And with us tonight is our CFO, Chief Financial Officer, Michael Marceau. Michael, welcome.
Good to be here.
Michael's been our CFO now going on what? Going on 6 years?
Just about. Yeah.
Okay, and I want to begin before we even start by Michael was an integral part in the affordable housing issues that we've finally gotten through, and I want to thank Michael for that. And he's also extremely involved, obviously, in the redevelopment in town. But Michael, I've got a couple questions for you that I think a lot of the people in town probably want to know about, their taxes.
Sure.
And how that all comes about, and so on and so forth. But briefly, what is the CFO's obligations and duties?
Well, a CFO is obviously has a lot of duties statutorily by the state of New Jersey. Basically, we're in charge of all books of original entry, your general ledger, your fixed asset records, all those. We also prepare our unaudited annual financial statement every year. There's a slew of single audit requirements we have to follow. We're in charge of petty cash, a lot of things. Here specifically, in addition to all the statutory responsibilities from the state, we also process all our own in-house payroll, as well as payroll taxes.
Okay. Michael, I get asked this question often. If there is a significant rebate to either an entity, corporate entity, and or residential, and they're getting a credit for taxes paid, or they're actually getting a reimbursement for taxes paid, what does that do to the pot, and who fills that in?
Well, in a town's instance, obviously we set the levy, the tax levy, and that tax levy gets divided up by the taxpayers. So anyone who's getting a quote-unquote rebate or an exemption is just left out of that calculation, so all the other residents, all the other taxpayers are responsible for their portion.
Okay, so the 100% of the pie remains the 100% of the pie, no matter where it's coming from.
Always. Yes,
Always.
sir.
Okay. And Michael, in a circumstance where an individual and/or a corporate entity is receiving a reimbursement, who's responsible for the complete 100% payment of that?
Well, in an appeal situation, I believe is what you're referring
Right.
to, the town bears 100% responsibility. Even though the taxes, as you've mentioned before, we get somewhere in the neighborhood of 17%, 20% to the county, and 56% to the school, somewhere in that neighborhood. We're responsible for the entire either repayment, or if it's a credit situation, we eat the credits.
Okay, and we cannot go to either of those other two entities to seek any reimbursement, can we?
No, sir, that's state law.
That's state law. Currently
Currently,
state
yes.
law, and I would indicate for our viewers that I know that the Mayor's Association in the state of New Jersey is working very actively to try and impact that, because it is exceedingly unfair that we get 17% of the original monies coming in and have to pay 100% of any monies going out.
Yes, I know there's, they kick around legislation every now and then, but it never seems to really get too much traction.
Never seems to get there. Use the term tax levy. Michael, what is the tax levy? Briefly.
Obviously, every year we set our budget. You have your revenues, you have your expenditures, and that gap in between them, that delta, is your tax levy. That tax levy gets divided up based on the assessed value of the entire town to come up with a tax rate, and then that rate gets applied to each individual residence or business based on their assessed value.
Okay. Michael, a little bit about the township, the building of the new building.
Yep.
Okay, and the anticipated acquisition, which is very, very close, obviously we all know, of the Hamilton property, and then what could be foreseen as potential sale of the Hamilton property, which is certainly the intention of the governing body. What are your thoughts as to a tax ramification of that, all of it? That would be the exchange of the property, the $2.9 million payment for brick and mortar to the church, as well as the acquisition of that property. We all know that we have bonded $2.9 million for the purchase, the brick and mortar purchase, and an additional $28 million bonded for the project itself. So tell us a little bit about the tax ramifications.
Right. So as you mentioned, round numbers, we're talking $31 million we're into for the whole project. We're hoping to sell Hamilton Avenue for somewhere in the neighborhood of $10 million. Obviously use the proceeds of that sale to offset any debt we would incur, which leaves us, somewhere in the neighborhood of $21 million to have to repay. I believe we had done the last model we had done was sometime in January, but basically amortizing that out over approximately 27 years was what we had done. 7 years of short-term debt, 20 years of long-term debt. The average impact came out to about $78 per year per household.
And this would be a house assessed at about $305,000, $310,000 in that area?
Yeah, I believe it was around 370, which came out to about 505,
Right.
525 of market value.
Market value, right. Okay, and because there's been some indication from some quarters in town that this is going to raise everybody's taxes by $5,000 a year or something along those lines.
Right.
Obviously, that's not the case. Is that fair to say?
Right, yeah.
Okay.
It comes out to about, if you go over the whole life of the entire project, it comes out to about $2,100.
Now, talk a little bit about bonding. We've bonded $28 million plus the additional $2.9 million. Now, many people have the impression that we now have $28 million in our bank account and that we're paying interest on that $28 million. Right. My understanding is that's not so. Is that correct?
That is correct. Basically, we've passed bond ordinances, which really all that does is it's the mayor and council giving the CFO the ability to go out and borrow. When it comes time to actually borrow, there's a bunch of other steps we have to go through. We hold, if we're doing short-term debt, we hold a note sale. If we're doing bonds, long-term debt, we have a whole much larger process to go through. We have to prepare a thing called an official statement, which goes, I'm sure people have heard, ads on the radio to invest in New York City, and they say, see the official statement. So there's a lot of other work that goes into that. And as we've discussed, we'll probably borrow that $31 million in stages. So it's never going to be one lump sum of $31 million. It's going to be pieces here, pieces there. And obviously with the sale and the proceeds, we're hoping that a large portion of that we'll never have to borrow.
Correct. So if we are successful, and I anticipate we will be, the question is how much we realize in the Hamilton project. Right. Yep. So let's assume we realize $10 million. Well, it's cost us $2.9 to purchase that property, correct?
Right.
In a brick and mortar exchange. So as a financial officer, $2.90 isn't a bad investment to get $10 back, correct?
Not at all.
Okay. Well, we would certainly hope that takes place. Now, let me ask you this, Michael. Obviously, I talked a little bit earlier in the show about pilots, right. and we understand that they're on a case-by-case basis based
right.
upon the entity that we're dealing with. Some developers want pilots, some developers aren't in need of a pilot based upon the circumstance, but I think it's fair to say that there might be 3 or 4 projects in this town that may in fact have such availability. Is that
right.
correct?
Yep.
Now, when those monies come in, there is nothing stopping the township governing body from allocating portions of those monies, which are not de minimis. They're certainly substantial. That can go towards the payment of any debt, can it not?
Absolutely.
Okay. Absolutely. So if a particular debt has been incurred specific to the bond situation, then various monies can be allocated in that direction.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Now, there's also a question. I talked to many residents around town. A town is no different than somebody running a household. It's nice to have something for a rainy day.
Right.
All right, because you never know what's going to happen. What's the rainy day equivalent in the township?
We have a lovely thing that we call fund balance. Okay. It's really mostly our cash flow. So obviously we only collect taxes 4 times a year. We have bills throughout the year. We pay the county quarterly their taxes. We pay the school monthly their taxes. So that fund balance enables us to operate when we're not collecting taxes. Ideally, we'd have more that would make a quote-unquote rainy day fund. At this point, we're not quite there, but we have seen some pretty substantial growth in the last 4 years. I think when I got here, we were in the neighborhood of $1 million in surplus, and now we're closer to 1.6.
Okay. Where would you like to see us? What's your CFO?
I'd like to see us, closer to 3 million, but
okay.
that'll probably never happen. But that would be ideal. The way the levy cap works now, and the various legislation coming from the state, they really don't want you to carry much fund balance. They really try and squeeze you down and get you to use that in your budget. So the chances that we'll ever be able to get to 3 months of operations or 4 months of operations is pretty slim.
Mike, the township funds projects, has to fund projects, long-term projects, and so on and so forth. And we've developed essentially capital projects. Okay, right. And explain a little bit, if you would, exactly. Let's take the road projects, which we have. Okay, and explain to us how we are addressing the road situation beyond, obviously, grading the roads and determining how they have to be,
right.
which is most severe, and so on and so forth. From a finance standpoint, how are we addressing them?
From a finance standpoint, what we did was we took the original plan, which I believe was a 20-year plan that came from our engineering department, and we basically said, okay, how do we want to tackle this? Looking at the debt we had, we decided we could layer in, as we paid off some debt, we could layer in some of these roads with minimal impact to the residents, tax-wise. So we went out for a 6-year plan. We did a bond anticipation note for about $6 million to tackle the roads. We've actually increased that now, so it's going to end up being a 5-year plan. It was originally scheduled to end in 2019. It'll now end in 2018. Good. And I assume we'll do another 5 or 6 year plan come 2019. Obviously, what we've tried to do is repeatedly apply to the State Department of Transportation for whatever grant monies we can get back. The county has offered us some grants to fund some roadway projects. and then we try and reinvest that money back into the roads. So although I don't have it in front of me, I'm sure we're quite a bit ahead of schedule. We just received somewhere in the neighborhood of another $330,000 worth of grant money. That'll all go back into the roads program, and we'll tackle those roads next year.
So obviously, if it was determined that we would do all the roads at once and bond 9, 10, 12, 15, whatever the amount of money, if you do that, then to me you face two issues. One, all of those roads now become in disrepair at the same time down the road.
Right.
And secondly, you are missing all of those years' opportunity to get grants, because in order to get grants, you have to match grants. Is that correct?
Yes, yes. And also, like I said, you know, we've really tried very hard to layer in the debt. So we don't want to incur massive amounts of debt all at once. It's easier if we can do that 6-year program, borrow as we go. It really eases the tax burden. You're paying less interest. Your repayment schedule changes dramatically. And so if you were to try and go out and specifically bond, because that's long-term debt, so you can pull all the money in at once, that's really, it's going to be a big hit to your taxes as well.
Okay. Well, Michael, you've been with us for 6 years. You've seen a lot of growth. You see where we're going. What are your thoughts about the redevelopment from a CFO's point of view? I mean, there's been a lot going on, and you've been a part of it. So where do you see all this going in the next couple of years from your standpoint?
From a financial standpoint, I see it as a wonderful thing. Obviously, the more ratables you get in town, highly affects your taxes. I think the future of the town looking out tax-wise is very bright. Like I said, we've done a good job of trying to build up that fund balance, of laddering the debt. We might get a couple of these pilot payments, which could really help offset even more. And then you're going to get all these new ratables, which obviously some people you know, would prefer the town stay a little smaller, but such is life. But really, financially, it's a very healthy thing for us to get in these new ratables.
Okay. Well, Michael, if any of our citizens have any questions about their taxes, I mean, other than they want to pay less, other than that, who should they contact? What's the process there?
They can contact myself. They can contact our tax collector, Rochelle Sanfilippo. They can contact our tax assessor if they have a question about their individual property, Bob Edgar. Anybody's welcome to come down anytime they want. Our office is always open. I would like to stress to everyone that we are, for a while now, we've been accepting online payment of your taxes. If you're not taking advantage, please do so. But we're always there. So.
Okay. Well, Michael, it's been great. Thank you for coming by. I think that the citizens need to be advised as to where their tax dollars are going. Many people have misconceptions, and that's why I encourage anyone who has any questions to come down and talk to Michael and any member of his staff. I understand now we're going to go to the Community Corner. So, again, thank you all for joining us tonight, and Michael, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and so it's the Community Corner. Thank you very much.
I fell and I can't get up. Elizabeth, here I'm coming. I need the emergency squad. Yeah, it really does happen. And at those times, what do? You can't get to the phone, or you need emergency intervention. Well, you use Medical Alert. But what if you don't have one? If you live in Berkeley Heights or live in New Providence, all you got to do is call the Rotary Club. Jim Rimtall of the Berkeley Heights Rotary Club, tell us a little bit about that.
Dr. Don, what I have here is the Medical Alert device. It's called the Guardian Alert 911, and this device is sold. We administer this and sell this for $90 for the year, which includes the first year installation and the maintenance of it, and then annually it's $70 per year after that. The device is very simple to use. I'm using the lanyard here so you can wear it around your neck if you're around the house. If you'd like to clip it to a purse or perhaps your belt, you can also sheath it. So there's two ways of developing that. And it goes into a rechargeable battery system that you can place in the house. And typically you charge it in the evening when you're not using it, and that way you have it for the foreseeable future on a daily basis. Used for people of all ages.
Now, Jim, that's about 10% of the cost that my father paid for his medical alert system. How does the Rotary make that happen?
Well, quite frankly, it's a service to the community. It's a small cost. It basically covers our cost. And our member, Mike Del Duca, is the person who administers this for us for the entire year. So he goes around, he has a schedule, and he sees everyone on a monthly basis. He has a schedule set up. It's all matrixed out, and it's very easy to do, and he spends his own time doing it.
How would somebody get some information about getting a medical alert for themselves or for a family member who lives in Berkeley Heights or New Providence?
There's several ways of doing it. You can either contact Mike Del Duca at Berkshire Hathaway in New Providence. He's our member who handles that. You can contact me, GRA Architects locally here in town, or you can go on our website, BerkeleyHeightsRotaryClub.com, and you can get it from that location as well.
There you go. Be safe. Get a medical alert. Contact the Rotary. Jim Rementhal, thank you very much for your time. I'm Dr. Donald DeFabio. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you, Doc.
Drug awareness is more than just knowing about marijuana or cocaine or heroin. There are so many what's called boutique drugs today, and they keep coming out, and it's a real problem. The Community Policing Department in Berkeley Heights can help you become aware of what's out there. Sergeant Massimino, Community Policing Officer, how can people become more informed about the drug crisis in Berkeley Heights?
The Berkeley Heights Police Department presents as many times as we can during the year a drug awareness seminar, and basically we're just informing the residents on the drug trends within the town and the neighboring towns.
Is that for kids? Is it for adults? Is it for my 4-year-old? I mean, who's it geared for?
As you know, drugs don't discriminate. It's for all ages. Obviously we put an emphasis on teenagers because obviously that's our focus, but also for adults.
Is it about just awareness of what's out there, or is it signs of use and abuse?
We cover everything from signs and symptoms of a user to full-blown addiction.
If there's a group of people that want to have you come down and talk to them, a service club or something like that, would you do it for a large group as well?
That's correct. Yeah, we presented to the residents at Town Hall through our partnership with the schools, obviously, and we have one in November scheduled for the PTO. So if you have a large group in town, obviously we'll come and present.
Become informed, be safe, contact the Community Policing Department. I'm Dr. Donald DeFabio for Sergeant Massimino. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, sir.
It's a great day to be at the Berkeley Heights DPW garage so we can find out about how the DPW is going to be able to serve your needs even better. Joe Neosi, your department chair, I guess, at the DPW, correct?
Yes, currently I'm acting director of Public Works.
So we got a lot of equipment at the Public Works. What do you oversee specifically? What does the DPW oversee?
Well, basically it's between, we do everything from landscaping to, all the aspects of road work, plowing and buildings and grounds and whatnot. So it's, we got our hands full.
You got a lot going on. Now, you had a garbage truck that you weren't using, and you had a pretty good idea on how to convert that garbage truck. What happened?
Well, when I first came here, I noticed that we had, I've digested all the equipment. I seen a 2003 garbage truck sitting in the garage, and really was only used for leaf collection. So
A couple times a year.
Yeah, so not even once a year.
Once a year. That's
Once
right.
a year.
Pick up the bags
Yeah,
and get rid of
that
them.
was it. So, I said, we got to utilize this truck a lot more, and we wound up converting this to a hook truck, and now it's got multiple uses. It's coming a big help.
So this truck behind us is the one you're talking about?
Correct.
Mm-hmm. Now, you called it a hook truck. What does that mean?
Well, the hook truck actually, in the back of the cab here, you'll see it's actually a hook. It does grab onto different bodies, and you're able to use it. You basically have one truck doing it's acting as 5 trucks because of all the multiple bodies that you have.
So the back part here comes off and we can put something else on it, is what you're saying.
Correct.
So this is a pretty big truck. I mean, what do we use it for?
Yeah, well, this truck, like I said, was originally a garbage packer, a rear load packer, and we actually converted that rear load packer to able to come off and on to be used for the hook truck. So we still have access to it, and we use it during leaf season and brush season, which is coming up soon. But in between, when we don't have the leaf season, we have all these different containers that we're using for tree chipping, picking up multiple, whether it's logs or any kind of brush in an emergency situation. So it's become very useful.
So we can put a tree chipper on it. We got a basic garbage truck out of it. I guess it can be a multi-purpose kind of truck for hauling as well.
Yes, absolutely. We also are getting a salter, which is not in yet. We got a 12-yard salter, which is going to be the biggest salter we have in the fleet, which is going to be really helpful.
Okay, well, I want to walk over and look at the salt trucks in a second, but I have one question for you. Sure. What's going to happen if we get another 3-foot snowstorm?
Well, the council has been very receptive to what we've been trying to promote and be proactive with equipment, and they've been, very supportive of that. So I'm feeling kind of confident. I mean, we're ready.
Okay, all right. Now, can we get something on the front of this baby here to move some snow?
Yes. That plow is right behind it, and so now we're going to have. We actually ordered another hook truck, and that hook truck will be on the mains with this one, so that will take care of that. Normally we would have small trucks on the mains, which just takes up too much time. It's a lot for the operator and the truck. Now they're all on the inside of the side streets. Sorry.
Great. So we'll be able to move those bigger snowstorms a little bit easier.
Absolutely.
But look, Joe, come on, let's walk over here. I want to take a look at these salt trucks, okay? Sure. Well, Joe, thanks for bringing us around to the back of the garage here, and there's a whole bunch of equipment over here as well. This one looks pretty new. What's this?
This is our new backhoe. It's again another piece of equipment that's been very versatile. We have on the back there, as you can see, it's a thumb. All right, and that is used to grab. So it makes the job so much easier. It also has an extender hoe, so we're able to get behind our head walls and whatnot into streams and stuff like that. Yes, so it makes it a lot easier to do the job. In the front here, we have a tilt bucket, and this is great because when we're loading, it just prevents a lot of spillage. So again, this is something that was very very helpful to us. This also comes off, and there's an attachment that goes on there. We got a set of forks, which is a forklift, which because of our small lack of storage, I guess you could say, those forks come in handy a lot. Plus picking up brick and pipe and whatnot. So again, that comes in handy. We also have a tin claw that goes on this, and that tin claw is going to be used to help us with the leaf and brush program that we have coming up. We normally started in September, and that's been the tradition. But we did push it up because, we used to chip, and the guys would go out with a tree chipper and a truck and chip their butts, away. But we've done without that because it's not efficient. We're out there, we're in that element. It's more dangerous. They're behind that chipper all day. So now we have a different fashion. We have these tin claws that go right into the packer I showed you earlier. It goes right into the back of that. And now we're able to start, because of the fashion we're picking it, it's so fast, it's so much faster. So we're able to start in October, which gives us more time on the roads, summer and going into fall.
Excellent. No, very, very efficient. I like it. And I know it's really efficient with the new lawnmower, so let's walk over there and take a look at that, okay? Sure. All right, let's go. Wow. What's this?
This is our 16-foot mower, and we've used this. This is the first summer we're using this. This is a new machine as well. And this turned our landscaping, instead of being married to these fields 5 days a week, we're doing these fields in one day.
Really? We've increased our efficiency 5 times when it comes to mowing the lawns?
Absolutely. And the best thing about this is if there is an emergency game, and during growing season the grass can tend to get high in different, depending on where the field is, sure. We're able to just go there and knock it out real quick and the field is pristine for the game.
That's great. You guys coming over to my house this year?
Yeah, sure.
Let me see. I'll let you do my chipping. I'll let you mow the lawn. You know, I'll leave the stuff out front for the clippers. You got everything.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but what about all the debris you leave on my street, though, when you come? How do you keep the streets clean?
Well, we have our sweeper. This is also another fairly new piece of equipment, and this sweeper is out pretty much all year. I kept them in this last couple of weeks only because I knew we were coming to a heavy leaf season, and I did want to utilize the manpower because we do have a bunch of projects going on in town. But he will be out Monday, starting Monday, this Monday, with leaf and brush crews. He'll be following along, cleaning up the curbside.
Let's go take a look. Come on.
Sure.
All right, so, Joe, we're over by the salt trucks now. The Salt Dog. What's going on? Tell me about this.
Well, this isn't a new salter, but it's fairly new. What we did to these small guys, these small salters, is what we upgraded it's a pre-wet system. So we upgraded these salters, and what the pre-wet system does is it sprays calcium chloride onto the salt when we're salting. It becomes a lot more effective below freezing temperatures.
Got it. So now we have this brine system as well, okay? I want to step over here so people can really see the unit. Tell me about the brine system, and does it work with the Salt Dog?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, depending on, every storm is different temperature-wise and whatnot. So, if we feel that the temperatures aren't as cold, we could put the brine into these tanks as well and spray on the salt. What that does is it basically gives it another, it moves the process faster. It starts melting the salt as it comes down, and it just, it speeds up the process. So it is very helpful.
So brine is basically salt water.
Absolutely. I guess if you look at it to explain to, people that don't know this area, you put butter on a pan before you cook an egg. It slides right off when you're done. So it helps after the storm, and it helps during while you're fighting. It doesn't have that bond with the road.
Excellent, excellent. So salter here, we have another salter like this one, and then we can turn our hook truck into a salter as well, correct?
Correct. That truck will, I'm hopeful that we're going to be getting another brine tank, and that brine will go on there, so we could brine before the storm. Once we're done, set it up with the salter, and that truck's ready to go. One guy just did the job of 3 trucks.
Nice. So what else do we need to know about what happens at the DPW? We talked about the snow removal, a little bit about the leaf removal and our multi-purpose trucks. What other things are we using here that we need to know about?
Well, I think the most important part is, number one, we got a staff of 14 men. Nice. And we're doing everything. And if we can't do it, we're getting contractors in, and we're helping them. So we're getting our hands dirty, and we're doing a lot in town. We're also keeping in touch with the Board of Ed and helping them doing a shared service with work and equipment and whatnot. So it's coming along. We did a lot. The fields were a big issue this year, and again, we did our part. We intend to move forward with that. But again, it's been a while since a lot of the TLC has been done to these fields, so it will take time.
Joe, thank you for the tour. We get to see the trucks that were in the yard. We got to see the trucks that were in the garage, the organization in the garage. It took me around back, and I got to even see the trucks around back. Is there anything else you would like the citizens of Berkeley Heights to know about the DPW?
Just myself and my guys. We're here for the community, and if there's anything we can do, please call us. Let us know.
Can't ask for more than that. Berkeley Heights Department of Public Works is here to serve you. Joe, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Wow, Mayor, great show. A lot of really, really good information. People need to get out there, become informed, get involved. A lot of good stuff between communication between the DPW and the Township Committee. It sounds like everybody's working well together here in town.
Yes, and we're proud of that, and I think we're even going to see a roll at the end of the show that's going to set forth all the names of those who work for the DPW. So thanks to them for the efforts they give us, and they continue to do a great job. So.
Yeah. Well, it's all about working together for the betterment of the community, and that's what we're here about. Remember, if you have any questions, get them off to the mayor. We'll be happy to ask them on the Mayor's Roundtable. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Dr. Donald DeFabio for your Mayor, Robert Woodruff. Have a good night.